Tonight on Reporting Scotland, MSPs say the Ferguson Marine Shipyard needs urgent investment to ensure its survival. Once the much-delayed Glenrosa is finished, there are no more orders. Unions say the government should award the yard contracts to build small ferries.
We need to stop this work going abroad. It needs to stay in Scotland. It needs to be fought. We're failing the communities that need these ferries in Scotland.
Also on tonight's programme.
I wish there'd been, when I'd been younger, there'd been a woman musician that was older than me that talked about this.
Researchers at Glasgow University are launching a study to build a better picture of sexual abuse and harassment in the trad music scene. A teacher who was killed in the Dunblane shooting in 1996 is among the Scots to be recognised with a new honour. Fans, family and former players pay their last respects to Lisbon Lion John Clark.
And coming up in the sport, Cameron Norrie is into the fourth round at Wimbledon after a victory in straight sets against Mattia Bellucci.
Hello, I'm Laura Goodwin. Welcome to Friday's programme. MSPs say the state-owned Ferguson Marine Shipyard needs urgent investment to ensure its survival. Holyrood's Audit Committee says leadership failings, along with delays and cost overruns of building 2 CalMac ferries, have damaged its reputation. Ministers say they're investing up to £14 million in the Port Glasgow yard to help win more business. Here's our transport correspondent, David Henderson.
Whatever the weather, work goes on at the Ferguson shipyard to finish a long-delayed ferry for CalMac. But once more, the very survival of this yard is under scrutiny, with MSPs demanding an urgent plan of action to safeguard its future.
We think that the workforce is capable, we think that the yard is well placed, we think it just needs that investment to allow it to compete, to restore its reputation and to have a long-term future, just as it's had a successful long-term past.
For Ferguson's, this decade has been far from plain sailing. Saved from closure, it built 2 big ferries, but they were years late and hugely over budget. The price paid, say these MSPs, is damage to the yard's reputation. Ferguson Shipyard only has one contract in place, and it's to build this CalMac ferry, MV Glenrosa. When it sails next year, the order book will be empty unless new work can be found, and fast. In the spring, the yard lost out on a deal to replace some of CalMac's smaller ferries, like this one. A Polish shipyard won the work instead. Union leaders at the yard say the next small vessel contract is the lifeline they need.
It needs to go to Ferguson Marine. We need to stop this work going abroad. It needs to stay in Scotland. It needs to be fought. We're failing the communities that need these ferries in Scotland. We've got small vessels. There's also CalMac with the Lord of the Isles coming. We need a direct award made to this yard. It can be done.
The Scottish Government, which owns the yard, says it's saved it from closure and is ensuring the site's long-term future with a multi-million-pound investment. It says it's working with the yard's new management to win new business. David Henderson, Reporting Scotland, Port Glasgow.
A joint funeral has been held for 2 major crime figures more than a month after they were shot in a Spanish bar. Earlier today, hundreds of mourners gathered at Bishopbriggs Crematorium in East Dunbartonshire. Eddie Lyons Jr. and Ross Monaghan were gunned down in a beachfront bar on the Costa del Sol at the end of May. Both men were linked to the Lyons crime group based in the west of Scotland. Spanish police have accused Michael Riley from Liverpool of the murders, and a full extradition hearing is scheduled for later this year. It's scary to speak out, but if we don't, nothing will change. The words of musician Laura Jane Wilkie. She's been speaking up about concerns regarding sexual violence and harassment in the trad and folk music scene. Researchers at Glasgow University want to build a better picture of the issue through anonymous surveys. They hope the findings will lead to a better understanding of the situation and ultimately help to find solutions. Annabelle McLennan reports.
I wish there'd been, when I'd been younger, there'd been a woman musician that was older than me that talked about this. I wish I'd heard it more because it was all like whispered.
Laura Jane has been part of the Scottish folk music scene for over 17 years.
There's some terrible things that happen, and when people take accountability for what they've done and apologise and mean it, that's great, but that doesn't always happen. And as I say, and that's where the issue is.
The challenges faced by women in the scene has been widely discussed on social media. There's been very little research done on this topic up until now, but a team here at Glasgow Uni are hoping to change that. Dr. Kelly Johnson is part of that team. They've launched a survey to collate the experiences of musicians.
I think it's really important to have that evidence base, because when one person speaks out, it's so easily, negated by another person saying that isn't my experience and it doesn't matter. And so us collecting an independent evidence base that's separate from the music scene itself will hopefully create a space for that conversation about what is going on and how we might address it moving forwards.
Laura Jane hopes this research will lead to the establishment of an HR-type model with a code of conduct for every facet of the scene.
It's not just playing, performing or rehearsing. It's when you start learning from your teachers, your almost peers at that point. And that can be a blurry line, particularly if the people in the class and the people teaching the class are over 18.
It's hard to speak openly about this, but despite her fears, Laura Jane wanted to be a voice for other women, to try and make a community so important to so many a safer place for them.
I think that it's important that we do keep this conversation open. I think that's the only way that things can change and get better.
If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this report, help and support is available at bbc.co.uk/action line, or you can call for free at any time to hear recorded information on 0800 077 077. Gwen Mayer, the teacher murdered alongside 16 pupils in Dunblane in 1996, is among 8 Scottish public servants recognised with a new honour. The Elizabeth emblem was introduced last year for public servants who died in the line of duty. Also on the list is retired paramedic Rod Moore, who came out of retirement during the pandemic and died after contracting COVID. Joanne Macaulay has more.
Gwen Mayer was in the gym with her class at Dunblane Primary School when Thomas Hamilton opened fire on them. Mrs Mayer tried to stop him, but in doing so she was murdered, along with 16 children. Now her bravery and service are recognised with an Elizabeth emblem.
At last somebody's acknowledged that she was very, very brave on the day and ultimately paid the ultimate sacrifice. As I say, when you go out as a teacher, you certainly, as a husband, you expected to come back, and she didn't.
Also on the list is Ewan Williamson, a firefighter who died after tackling a blaze at a pub in Edinburgh. And Falkirk paramedic Rod Moore. Having retired, he returned to work to help at the height of the pandemic, but then contracted COVID himself and died.
He loved his job. He loved going to work because he didn't know what was in front of him every day. Every day was different. Most people's jobs are the same every day, whatever. He had a really caring attitude to his job and tried to help as much as he could.
The emblems recognise events going back decades. William Oliver, who died fighting the fire at the Cheapside Street disaster in Glasgow in 1960, is getting one. This is only the second time Elizabeth emblems have been awarded. They're the civilian equivalent of the military award, the Elizabeth Cross, and recognise people who paid the ultimate price. The emblem is inscribed with the phrase, "for a life given in service," and the next of kin will collect and wear it with pride. Joanne Macaulay, reporting Scotland.
Right, tonight's main news again. MSP say the Ferguson Marine Shipyard needs investment to ensure its survival. Once the much-delayed Glen Rosa is finished, there are no more orders. Unions say the government should award the yard contracts to build small ferries.
And still to come in the sport, new Rangers midfielder Joe Rothwell says reuniting with Russell Martin was a major pull to join the club.
Well, Amy is here now. Amy, what have you got coming up on the 7?
Plenty of the programme, as always, Laura, and we're actually going to be joined by one of the researchers. We obviously heard from Laura Jane Wilkie, the musician there, about her experience of sexual abuse and harassment in the trad music scene. So we're going to be joined by one of the researchers from Glasgow Uni just to find out more about what they're trying to achieve with the research that they'll be undertaking. And I don't know, have you been caught up in Oasis mania yet? You started to get excited? Are you a super fan, Laura?
I'm excited, but I don't have tickets. And I mean, it was quite difficult to get them, wasn't it?
It was very difficult to get them, and we might not even be seeing them arrive in Scotland and at Murrayfield until next month, but it kicks off in Cardiff tonight. So naturally, we're going to get in on the excitement and the action already. We'll be live in Cardiff.
I have enjoyed seeing the super fans, though, down in Cardiff. Thank you very much, Amy. Some of the day's other stories now. Glasgow airport's facing disruption this summer after workers voted to go on strike. The 100 Unite union members include customer service, airside and support workers, as well as engineers. They say the 4% pay rise they've been offered isn't enough. Glasgow Airport management say they want a sensible resolution. Glasgow City Council says there's no evidence of any data being stolen in last month's cyber attack that took a number of services offline. Tech services supplier CGI discovered malicious activity on servers managed by a third-party supplier on the 19th of June. A number of online services, including paying penalty charges and reporting school absences, became unavailable as servers were taken offline. There are hopes a long-running pay dispute at Scottish Water can be settled. Staff have been on strike several times since the spring. The Unison, Unite and GMB unions are consulting their members on the latest pay offer. The result will be known later this month. Experts believe pieces of a small meteor that lit up the night sky over parts of the UK on Thursday have landed on and around Ben Nevis. Dozens of people in the West Highlands reported an orange glow and a bang, and the meteor was captured streaking across the sky on doorbell security cameras. The UK Meteor Network said it had travelled from between Mars and Jupiter. Now, it's been at the bottom of the ocean for well over a century. Now, a bell from the wreck of HMS Vanguard has been recovered by divers and will form part of a new memorial to those who lost their lives when the ship exploded at anchor in Scapa Flow and sank in 1917. David Delday was there to see it being brought to the surface.
On the seabed for 108 years. The last time this bell saw daylight was the moment 842 men and boys lost their lives.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Wendy Sadler's great-granduncle, Private Henry Metcalfe, one of those lost. She says she's here to represent the families of all who died.
Knowing that 100 years plus ago, your relatives looked at it, heard it ringing, and then, what happened to them that night, losing their lives, and it's not seen again for another 110 years. It's a privilege and it's an honour.
A metal badge and a plug for the end of a gun have also been recovered. Special permission was granted to do so. The work was done by a team of divers who had previously surveyed the wreck.
We managed purely by chance to swim across one of the ship's bells and then this ship's badge and the tompion. It was lovely to find artefacts that really pertain to the ship rather than wreckage, along with other personal artefacts. There are musical instruments on Vanguard, there are items that the crew would have worn, there's clothing, there are shoes.
108 years ago, Scapa Flow would have looked much different. There would have been giant warships all around here, really as far as you can see. The sudden explosion which ripped through Vanguard scattered pieces of wreckage across an area of around 30,000 square metres, and the ferocity of it can still be seen on the bell to this day.
Our plan is not to fully restore it. It's not going to look bright and shiny like the Royal Oak Bell in the cathedral. It will retain that evidence of the damage from the fate of the ship and also the long years underwater. And as soon as people see it, I think they will immediately feel that empathy with the men who died.
The conservation work is expected to take over a year to complete. The objects will then be displayed at the Scapa Flow Museum, commemorating what many regard as somewhat of a forgotten tragedy. David Daldy, reporting Scotland, Orkney.
Mourners gathered in Glasgow today for the funeral of Lisbon Lion John Clarke. The Celtic legend, who died last week at the age of 84, won several major honours and more than 300 games for the Parkhead side. His greatest achievement came in 1967 when Celtic defeated Inter Milan in Lisbon to become the first British team to lift the European Cup. Our reporter Hope Webb has more.
A final journey past the club that made him a legend. Today, hundreds of fans line Celtic Way to pay their respects to Lisbon Lion John Clarke.
You hear stories about him being so humble, and you would never have thought he'd win a European Cup, stuff like that, so just a nice wee guy, you know.
He'd done a lot back ahead through the years. A sad loss.
Connection with the fans was unparalleled. His background, his humility, his dedication, I think, he deserves his legendary status.
His funeral took place at St Mary's Church in the city's Carlton area, and players and lifelong friends were there to say their final farewell. During the service, legendary commentator Archie Macpherson reminded the congregation of Clarke's steely resolve.
Now, John, of course, was no hard man. But if you balance what happened to him domestically with what he was now doing in football, progressing through the different levels, I think it gave him an inner resilience that stayed with him all his life.
Despite playing 300 games for the club and securing 4 league titles, his greatest achievement will always be in Lisbon in 1967. He was one of 11 men who made history by beating Inter Milan and becoming the first British team to lift the European Cup. From his debut in 1959 to working as the kit man for 2 decades, it's his 40 years of unwavering service to Celtic that many will remember and respect for years to come.
Remembering John Clarke. Well, let's get tonight's sport now with Lewis.
Thanks very much, Laura. Good evening. New Rangers signing Joe Rothwell says the chance to reunite with Russell Martin was a key factor in his decision to join the club. The 30-year-old midfielder has signed a 3-year deal at Ibrox after leaving Premier League side Bournemouth. He will link up once again with new Rangers boss Martin, a manager he played under as part of the Southampton side who achieved promotion to the English top flight in 2024.
He's a possession-based manager. From the outside it looks like he's just playing pointless passes, but when you're actually inside it, you understand every pass that you make is kind of key. So, as long as we understand that as a team and the lads buy into it, then I'm sure they'll fully enjoy playing that style of play. Off the pitch, he just treats everyone the same. There's no one better than anyone else, and he's really good at bringing clubs back together and creating a fantastic bond. And I think, if you want to win things, I think it starts off the pitch, and if we can get everyone, off the field and with the staff all buying into the same thing, then I think he can create a really successful time.
Now, Dundee United boss Jim Goodwin here admits that he had to get his transfer business done quickly with their opening European qualifier just around the corner. Goodwin has bolstered his squad with 7 signings so far, with Ghanaian Isaac Papo from Hungarian side Ferencváros the latest to join. United take on Luxembourg's Una Strassen in their first Conference League tie in just under 3 weeks' time.
Normally, when you're involved in the League Cup, you can get away with, bringing a number of academy players, into the fold to bulk up the squad. But given the significance of the game, against the Luxembourg team, it does put a little bit of, you have to speed up that recruitment process. There's no doubt about that, especially given the number of players that we lost in the summer. So I'm delighted with the work that we've done up to now.
Moving to tennis now, and Cameron Norrie is through to the 4th round at Wimbledon after defeating Italian Mattia Bellucci in straight sets. The British number 3 didn't get off to the best start. He was broken on his opening serve, but recovered to win the set on a tie break. After that, he didn't look back, winning the next 2 sets 6-4, 6-3. Next up will be either Chilean qualifier Nicolas Jarry or Brazilian João Fonseca, who knocked out Jacob Fernley, of course. And now the British Superbike Championships have come to Scotland with some of the best riders in the world in action at Knockhill. It's practice day today before 2 days of racing. Sheila McLaren's been up at the Fife track to speak to some of those involved.
It's one of the biggest events on the Scottish motorsport calendar. Around 200 riders and their teams have descended on Knockhill for the 4th round of the prestigious competition. And there are a few Scots looking for glory at a circuit they know very well.
Knockhill is a place that's got a special area in my heart. You know, last year picking up my first Bennett's British Superbike race win at this track, and you know, I've been coming here for such a long time to do it in front of my home crowd, all the home fans and all my family as well. It was something really special.
15,000 Superbike fans are expected from across the UK and beyond to cheer on their favourites.
Originally from Huddersfield, but we've been up in Scotland for a week, having a look round and stuff, with the intention of coming to Knockhill at the end of it all.
We've come up here to this lovely circuit and the lovely people what run it to watch the British Superbikes and watch our man Storm Stacey win.
We've just come from Buckie and we're here to watch Superbikes and the Stock 1000 and all the other classes and support our local riders.
The bikes can reach speeds of up to 118 miles an hour. But despite all the noise, the crowd can still have an impact.
It's mad that when you come into the Knockhill hairpin, you roll off, everyone's going down the gears, but you can still hear the crowd cheering. And a few years ago in Super Stock 1000, I took the lead and I could actually hear the crowd cheering.
Bradley Ray leads the way after 3 rounds of the BSB series. The qualifying races here get underway tomorrow. Sheila McLaren, reporting Scotland at Knockhill.
Certainly need a bit of confidence to get on those bikes, I think.
Oh, I'm loving
You
the
certainly
fans,
need your
though.
ear defenders when you're there, I think, as well,
Yeah.
Laura. And before I go, I must mention Celtic have announced the signing of Hayato Inamura, 23-year-old Japanese defender.
OK, Lewis, thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you.
Now, she's headlined the dance stage at Radio 1's Big Weekend, enjoyed a top 10 hit and DJ'd with celebrities including Idris Elba. Now, Hannah Laing is set for one of her biggest shows to date, and it's in her hometown of Dundee. 15,000 people are expected at Doof in the Park in the city's Camperdown Park tomorrow. Our reporter Graham Ogston went to meet her.
She's a superstar DJ and record producer with millions of followers. But this weekend, Hannah Laing is back home and hosting her very own festival, Doof in the Park.
I came here when I was a kid for Easter every year.
Dundee's Camperdown Park is quiet just now, but that will change on Saturday when thousands of revellers descend on the sold-out event.
We thought that we'd maybe sell out once we announced the full lineup, but it sold out straight away. And yeah, I still can't get over it. It's mental that all those people bought tickets to see me.
Named after Hannah's record label Doof, the event is the culmination of more than a decade climbing the ladder to global acclaim in the dance music world. From her first DJ set in Arbroath, Hannah spent years honing her craft alongside her day job as a dental nurse. After securing a residency in Ibiza, Hannah went from strength to strength, scoring a top 10 hit in 2023 with her track Good Love.
It's obviously come with a lot of challenges. I'm touring full time at the moment and taking on a festival. Of course, I'm working with a very experienced team, but I'm across everything and I'm heavily involved in it because I care so much about the experience for everyone.
Last year, she played her 2 biggest hometown shows to date, but says this is a big step up.
The demand is there, so the next step was to try and do a festival, and what a better place to do it than Camperdown. Everybody is so excited and the hype for it that I'm seeing on social media is unreal. But yeah, I think it's natural to have those nerves. It's year 1 and like we can only learn from this going forward, and hopefully it's something that we can continue to do every year.
Graham Ogston, reporting Scotland, Dundee.
Well, Camperdown will be jumping regardless of the weather, Gillian, but is it going to be a good weekend for those out and about?
It's a wee bit mixed. Sunday's looking like the better of the weekend days. Tomorrow, though, an east-west split, so brighter in the east,
wettest in the west, as it was today, Laura. Yes. Good evening to you. We had lots of scenes like this one, grey skies. We had a wee bit of brightness. This was Shetland this morning, but even at this stage, you can see that cloud starting to move in. The wet weather wasn't too far behind it. The rain has been heaviest and most persistent across western Scotland, where we still have a yellow warning of heavy rain from the Met Office. That's valid right through until 3 p.m. tomorrow. And through this evening and tonight, that rain will keep coming. Still quite persistent, quite heavy for a time, but turning lighter and patchier in most cases towards tomorrow morning. And eastern Scotland had some breaks in the cloud today. They'll continue to do so tonight. Not too much rain getting right across to the east. It will be a very mild night, temperatures holding up in the teens for many of us. And the west-southwesterly breezes still brisk at times, but not as strong as they were today. So into tomorrow then, and we'll continue to see lots of cloud and outbreaks of rain, mainly affecting western Scotland once again, with some drier and somewhat brighter conditions in the east. This is the snapshot around about 4 o'clock. A few brighter breaks for Shetland. For Orkney, the Western Isles, Northwest Highlands, good deal of cloud and some showery spells of rain. But some brighter spells, some sunshine coming through for parts of Aberdeenshire, Angus, Perthshire and Fife. Down towards southwest Scotland, the Glasgow area and Argyll. Good deal of cloud, some showery spells of rain. Temperatures for most around about the mid-teens, but up to 19, perhaps 20 in the best of that sunshine in the northeast. And the winds tending to ease down through the day. Some brighter breaks developing late on tomorrow for the central belt and the south, with rain becoming increasingly confined to the northwest. Heading into Sunday, and the wind becomes northwesterly, so it will feel quite cool in exposure to that breeze. We'll start with cloud and patchy rain, but those brisk northwesterly winds clearing much of that cloud through the day, allowing some sunny spells. Still some showery outbreaks hanging on in the southeast. And like I say, it will feel cool in exposure to that breeze, but with temperatures mid to high teens, not bad in a wee bit of shelter. That's the forecast, Laura.
Okay, Gillian, thank you very much. Now tonight's main news again. MSP say the Ferguson Marine Shipyard needs investment to ensure its survival. Once the much-delayed Glenrosa is finished, there are no more orders. Unions say the government should award the yard contracts to build small ferries. And that's it. I'll be back with your late news, but for now, from everyone on the team, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.